Hey, welcome back for another look at the X-Files. Today we've got a really good one with Tempus Fugit, episode 17 of season 4. Debuting March 16th, 1997, Tempus Fugit follows Mulder and Scully as they investigate the wreckage of a downed commercial airliner and the return of Mulder's alien abductee friend, Max Fenig. The episode begins over the skies of Vancouver, New York. Is that Dark Side Phil?
Dude, what are you, dumb?
Another scotch and soda?
The only way to fly.
Scotch and soda? A real man would drink that neat. Poor Max Fenig. First he gets abducted, now he has to listen to this chatterbox. I wouldn't worry about him, Max. I'm sure he's not following you. I didn't know they had 3D printed guns in the 90s. No time to worry about the gun though, because they're experiencing some heavy turbulence. This is a big reason why I do not fly. To make matters even worse, now they've got a flying saucer to contend with. I sure hope Max is alright.
Happy birthday to you. I think that was your birthday, Scully.
Oh, Mulder's such a troll. And like most guys, he isn't exactly the best gift giver. Because it's the X-Files though, they're not allowed to have too much fun, as they're interrupted by a woman named Sharon Graffia, the sister of Max. Sharon was instructed by her brother to find the agents if something were to ever happen to him. He seemed to have something the government wanted and would do anything to get. Like say downing an airplane full of people for one. The plane lost contact around 7 p.m. the previous night, and of the 134 passengers, it doesn't look like there were any survivors. They do have the final recording from the plane before it went down, and it's rather interesting.
We got something. Some intercept. My God. My God.
It actually reminds me of the transmission they received in space, when the ghost alien attacked the stock footage. Everyone is told to keep things quiet because we can't let it slip to the public that something very strange is going on. They might start asking questions. Mulder butts in and asks if maybe the plane was forced down. The recording clearly said the plane was intercepted, and it did have a repeat abductee aboard in Max Fenig. Although when he brings the alien abductee part up, everyone just laughs. And Scully is like, oh brother, here we go again.
And if any of the capable men and women in this room find Dr. Spock's phaser or any green alien goo.
I'm no Star Trek expert, but I don't think Spock was a doctor.
I love you. However, I hate you.
But
Man, there isn't much left of the plane now, is there? Scully says the plane was downed by some natural phenomenon, a lightning strike or something along those lines. But Mulder knows better. He seems more concerned in finding Max anyways. But I don't know if you're gonna find Max, or at least very much of him. I'm thinking Geraldo might have something to do with this. Also, how did he manage to find his buddy's torso before anyone else did? Mulder finds a watch and Scully finds an arm with a watch, and when comparing the times, both watches stopped at 8:01 p.m., which is kind of weird. Scully mentions the plane crashed at 7:52, which would give a missing 9 minutes. Anyways, Mulder now believes that Max may not have been on the plane when it crashed. One of the volunteers finds a survivor, which is insane to think about. If that guy recovers, he needs to play the lottery.
Sharon, we believe that there are things that you haven't told us. We need to know everything that you know.
about what?
About Max.
Scully meets with Sharon at a nearby airport, who brings everything Max had ever given her. Scully thinks Sharon may be hiding what Max was carrying, because the survivor they found had extreme radiation burns, which isn't something typical of a plane crash. The agents figure out where Max was sitting on the plane when Scully is told he was flying under an alias of Paul Gidney, a name he used to get a job at an energy site that dealt with things like uranium and plutonium. So Scully thinks he had plutonium on him, but why would someone be after him for a little harmless plutonium? Mulder believes once Max returns, he'll tell them the exact same things Mulder's saying, but one slight problem. Max has already returned, just in many pieces. His body was found a short distance away from the crash site, and when Mulder finds out this information, he takes it pretty hard. Sharon is going over the letters Max has sent her over the years, and I guess alien abductions run in the family. Ooh, that doesn't bode well for Mulder then. Mulder finds Max, and even after all these years, Max was still holding onto one of Mulder's cards. The crash retrieval team is ready to give its findings that they believe the plane just underwent a complete system shutdown. But while doing a little snooping, Mulder noticed that everyone's wristwatch was missing. If there was alien involvement, why remove all the watches? The general public wouldn't understand the significance of a stopped wristwatch. Only guys like Mulder would.
If you're here about the crash the other night, I already told the NTSB guys exactly what I know about that.
The agents meet with Sergeant Louis Frisch at a nearby Air Force reserve. He didn't witness anything out of the normal, really outside of the plane on his radar going down at 7:52, like all the reports have stated. One thing to note is the crash retrieval team already spoke to him the night of the incident, but I guess just forgot to tell Mulder and Scully. Even stranger is there was actually no radar confirmation that the plane went down, so something fishy is definitely going on.
What did you tell them? What I was supposed to say.
Looks like someone got to them already. The agents arrive at the motel Sharon was staying at, and the owner is pissed. She thinks Sharon trashed the place, but it wasn't her. Try little green men. Mulder thinks Sharon was abducted, which definitely fits the look of the room. Mike arrives to tell the agents they found something, but how the hell did he know they were here?
The way all these cracks radiate from a central point, looks like the door's been shaken and blown outward, straight off its frame, right off the plane.
Mike can't exactly make this public, but it looks like the plane's door was pulled off prior to the crash, which is kind of impossible. Unless something else did it. Louis returns after having a little argument with his little buddy, but discovers that he shot himself directly in the middle of his forehead with no blood splatters or anything anywhere. It doesn't look like Louis will be safe for long either, as Geraldo and some trained goons have come to finish the job. Mulder's relaxing to the soothing sounds of the plane's last recording. He really finds the weirdest ways to chill out.
I just realized something. The voice of the air traffic controller, I've heard it before.
Yeah, so have I.
Holy God, there's something outside the ship. There's someone outside the ship. We got something. Some intercept. My God. My God.
Well, they're close enough. Mulder calls Scully over because he wants her to hear something, but at least she's wearing something under her robe this time.
I'm the man responsible. I'm the one that caused that plane crash.
Well, this is quite the twist. Mulder and Scully bring the sergeant to Mike, as he was the one on the tape that last spoke to the aircraft before it went down. Mike was under the impression that it was a civilian-run air traffic controller that spoke with the plane, but there's a lot he doesn't know. For one, there was a second aircraft that appeared on the radar. A short time after this second aircraft appeared, there was an explosion and the commercial airliner went down. Now things get even more wild because there was also a third aircraft, except this one was stealth and unable to be picked up by the radar. So Mulder believes the military shot down this third aircraft with the second aircraft, and the first just got caught in the crossfire. Is everyone still following me? With all this new info now, they're looking for a second crash site.
Mulder.
Things can never go smoothly in the world of the X-Files. The agents are chased down the runway, but lucky for them, a plane is landing at that exact moment, which helps cut off the pursuers. Alright Mike, now make sure to write that down in your report. The guys at the poker game are not gonna believe this. Mike finds Sharon, who is probably dropped off after having her ova taken and given cancer. If that's what they do with the women, what do they do with the men?
It came down somewhere around here.
In Great Secondary Lake?
Yeah.
Mulder thinks there is no second crash site because the aircraft actually fell into a nearby lake. Mulder abandons Scully like he usually does as she flies back to Washington with the sergeant. In the meantime, Mulder's got a lake to search. You think he's gonna wear the Speedo again? Mulder arrives at the lake, but it looks like someone beat him to the punch, as there were some hovering lights searching above the water. Scully brings the sergeant back to her place. I don't know what she has planned, but I'm sure it involves binding. Even though 134 people lost their lives, the sergeant seems more concerned with what will happen to him. He did lie about what he saw, but it's not like he had much of a choice.
You think it's safe to make a phone call?
It better not be long distance, mister. Meanwhile, Mulder's getting ready for a little dive. I'm sure a guy with absolutely no experience will have no issue diving 50 or 60 feet down. What's the worst that could happen? While Mulder's off working, it looks like little Miss Scully thinks she can take the sergeant out for a couple drinks. Oh, just wait until Mulder finds out about this.
I have something for you. Where have you been?
I've been, gone.
Oh, can I buy you a drink?
Poor Pendrell, he has the absolute worst timing. He wants to buy Scully a drink for her birthday, but thinks she's with the sergeant. There's just no winning for this guy. But hey, at least that's the worst thing that'll happen to him tonight. Hey, what's Geraldo doing here? Oh no, not Pendrell! Scully, at least give him mouth to mouth for God's sake. Anyways, Mulder's still doing his little dive, and for someone with no experience, he's pretty good. Mulder finds a lot of bubble wrap for some reason, and some absolute nightmare fuel to go along with it. Tempus Fugit is some solid mythology stuff. I love seeing Max again, but I hate seeing him die off so quick. His character had such a tragic end after what was a pretty terrifying existence. The thought that you were never safe and these creatures from space could take you at any moment and experiment on you is such a scary idea. It's no wonder that people like Max and Dwayne Barry act as paranoid as they do, because not only are they being taken, but even worse is no one believes them. I had always felt that Max would have made a good addition to the Lone Gunman. I mean, he basically was a template for them. The stuff with the military being involved with the takedown of the aircraft, and also covering up their tracks, is classic X-Files. And honestly, I forgot how quickly they shot Pendrell. I thought it was later on in the series, but it's honestly been years since I've watched the show, so my mind is fuzzy on most of the mythology stuff. I won't give away his ultimate fate, but if you're watching these videos, I'm sure you already know. Something I wanted to bring up as well is the alien that was shown at the very end gave me nightmares as a kid. I've always found aliens to be incredibly terrifying, and because of this damn show, I thought for years that I would one day be abducted. I used to fear every night before bed that I would see a gray poke his face into my bedroom window, and it scared the hell out of me. Tempus Fugit was written by Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz, and was directed by Rob Bowman, who is one of their go-tos when it comes to the mythology episodes. Originally, the episode was going to be named Flight 549, then Tempus Fugit, before eventually just naming it Tempus Fugit. The name Tempus Fugit means time flies in Latin, and correlates between the plane flying and the time loss experienced during its eventual descent. Now, before anyone goes on about my pronunciation of Tempus Fugit, I looked up like a half dozen pronunciation videos, and they're all trashy AI, and said the same damn thing. Tempus Fugit or Tempus Fugit. Tempus Fugit or Tempus Fugit. So I said Fugit and went with the second choice. In Tempus Fugit, Scully is celebrating her 33rd birthday, when in reality, Jillian was actually only 28. They aged her up for the show because they didn't think anyone would buy her being in her position at such a young age when the show first aired. For years after the airing of Fallen Angel, Scott Bellis auditioned time and time again to try and get roles as random FBI agents. However, he was denied because Chris Carter felt that Max was too memorable of a character and thus people would point him out. It's kinda like how people think Doug Hutchison, who played Toombs, also played a random dead body in the episode Pusher. The body might kind of resemble Doug, but it would have been a really bad idea to bring in one of your most memorable actors and place them as some random dead guy. Even though Scott was turned down, I think it could have worked. If you see him cleaned up and clean shaved, he looks like a completely different person, so I think he could have pulled it off. Every now and then, Scott would run into David at the gym, and David would always give him words of encouragement. However, during one chance meeting, he told Scott that he had overheard that there were talks of bringing his character Max back. And they did. I'm just not sure it was quite like he had hoped. In 1996, his managers were contacted, informing them that they wanted Scott to return as Max in a two-parter. Scott signed on, but didn't know anything about what he would be doing until the week before shooting. The producers wanted to keep everything quiet until they were close to the shooting date. It was decided to kill Max because, according to Frank Spotnitz, they didn't want to keep milking Max as a character. This was going to be the last time the audience would see him, and they wanted to make sure it was very apparent by the end of Act 1 that he was dead. Would it surprise you though that there really was no plan for what they wanted to do with the episode? I mean, this is the X-Files we're talking about, a show known for its forethought. The producers didn't really know what they wanted to do with the episode or where they wanted it to go, but the one thing they were certain about was bringing back Max, even if only briefly, because it would add an emotional element for Mulder knowing that someone he knew died on that plane. The mock-up plane interior was actually built during the 3rd season and used in the episode Teleco. It was specifically designed to simulate a crash, for filming purposes of course, but until now they never really had a reason to use it. So they basically wrote an episode around a plane crash simply so they could use a set they had built a year prior. David Gautier's team rigged the plane set with hydraulics, which gave it the erratic movement in order to simulate turbulence. The set was able to shift up to a 22-degree angle and move 4 feet from side to side. The crash site itself was so authentic that it left many of the crew sick to their stomach. They did everything they could to make it look and feel like a real crash site, including some severed body parts that didn't make it into the final cut because they were deemed to be too graphic by standards and practices. Despite there being a scene where they literally find the torso of one of the passengers. Still though, they dressed the set with debris, luggage, and did everything they could to make it feel real. So real that even a crash site advisor that was helping them said that it looked like a real crash, except for one thing, the smell. A smell that I'm not sure anyone on the crew would really want to experience. Tempus Fugit currently sits at 8.4 on IMDb. It's a solid mythology episode that's also kind of a downer with what happens to both Max and Pendrell, and I'm probably gonna go with an 8 myself. Next up, the agents continue their investigation into what really downed the airliner, and the government will do anything to stop them. In the episode, Max. So what do you think of Tempus Fugit? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you're having a great day and stay spooky.
What happened to Flight 549?
You ever seen anything like this?
Where's the plane?
The truth
From the sound of the tape, the plane may have been forced down.
By who? Or what?
will shock you.
Are you accusing these men of covering evidence?
A brand new X-Files.
I'm not gonna make it.
Sunday at 9/8 Central on Fox.